Guys, what's up?
My girlfriend gave me this really good video idea, which would be ranking albums from A to Z, my favorites. I'm gonna be doing this probably as fast as I can because I really want to get to bed. Each of these winners is going to have at least 2 honorable mentions because I listen to way too much music for them to just have 1 winner per letter. Got my list right here, so let's get started. For letter A, 2 honorable mentions are At Long Last ASAP and Astroworld by Travis Scott. The winner for letter A is going to be Angles by The Strokes. The band sounds so insanely tight on this one. Every song is super cohesive, it's a tight track list, and everything flows together really well. I think they really went experimental more with their sound here. Chord progressions are great, an amazing intro of Machu Picchu, and had me hooked the whole way through. Moving on to letter B. Honorable mentions for this one are A Brief Nirvana by Kamari and Bandostone in the New World by Childish Gambino. The winner for this one is going to be Bird's Eye by Raven Lenae. She has a great feature list on here like Childish Gambino, Rex Orange County, as well as Ty Dolla $ign. The production on here is bouncy and it's a great summer album if you're looking for one. She has countless catchy hooks and choruses on here and each verse is just sung beautifully. Moving on to letter C. Honorable mentions for this one is The Color Gray by Jev and The College Dropout by Kanye West. Our winner for letter C is going to be Currents by Tame Impala. The story on this one, just woven throughout, is beautiful and heart-wrenching. This was absolutely boundary pushing for the alternative rock scene as well as the synthwave pop scene. Production on here is top-notch, just like every Tame Impala project ever is, and this was absolutely robbed of a Grammy back when it released. Moving on to letter D, honorable mentions are Dawn FM by The Weeknd and Donda by Kanye West. The winner for this one is Damn by Kendrick Lamar. I feel like this one was kind of a no-brainer. This album really proved that Kendrick can drop a bunch of hits. I mean, if you showed me this record and told me to pick which one of the songs was the lead single, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Kendrick also proved on here that he can make a hit record with substance. Every song on here is woven into the narrative of Compton as well as his struggle with existentialism and the materialistic things in this world. Phenomenal record, banger after banger after banger. Moving on to letter E. I only have 1 honorable mention for this one. I couldn't find any E albums that I really liked, so drop them in the comments below. Our honorable mention for this one is Electric Dusk by Leon Thomas, and the winner for this one is going to be An Evening with Silk Sonic. This is a crossover between Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak that I never knew I needed, and I don't think anyone else did either. These 2 artists blend so well on a track together, it's ridiculous. Their chemistry is off the charts. I think everyone else really saw that because these singles went off the charts. I mean, we're talking about a slow romantic Bruno Mars song that got an emote in Fortnite. Like, that's insane. But moving on to letter F. For this one, my honorable mentions are Feels by Snow Allegra and Freudian by Daniel Caesar. My winner for this one is obviously going to be The Forever Story by JID. Jitty Boy, Jid, JID, however you want to call him, he has crafted the greatest hip-hop record of the 2020s. There has not been a hip-hop album that has brought me to a hood, brought me to a place that I could smell, I could feel, I could hear the things going on in that hood and story than The Forever Story. I haven't felt that since Good Kid, Mad City. Jid proves on these tracks that he can rap on anything and that he is truly probably one of, if not the best spitter in the game right now. Listen, when J. Cole drops the fall off and retires, let me just say, Dreamville's in good hands. Moving on to letter G. For this one, I'm gonna have to say I have a tie. The tie is between Graduation by Kanye West and Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. Graduation is just one of those albums that's timeless. When we say that he made Graduation, we're not kidding. Every track on here was genre setting. Hip hop was forever changed by not only just Graduation, but the College trilogy as a whole. While my favorite Kanye album is still to come, this is undoubtedly one of the most influential albums in hip hop. As for Good Kid, Mad City, as I was saying with Jid, the storytelling and the vividness of the imagery and wordplay on this album brings me into Compton with Kendrick. You have banger after banger on here, Money Trees, Poetic Justice, Backseat Freestyle, and this is just another one of those hip-hop classics that's just timeless. For an honorable mention for letter G, I have A Great Chaos by Ken Carson. Oh, I got you. I'm kidding. Terrible album. Moving on to letter H. For honorable mentions for letter H, we have Heroes and Villains by Metro Boomin and House of Balloons by The Weeknd. The winner for this one is, of course, going to be Hotel California by the Eagles. I remember when I first heard just the song Hotel California, instantly went into my most perfect songs of all time. Then I said, there's an album. Let me listen to it. And I heard New Kid in Town, Pretty Maids All in a Row, Life in the Fast Lane, and Wasted Time. Oh my goodness. Wasted Time is the greatest song I have ever heard in my life. You will not find another song like Wasted Time. It just brings something out of me. Hotel California is an album you can't forget. and everyone should listen to it at some point in their life. Moving on to letter I. Honorable mentions for this one are going to be Is This It by The Strokes and Igor by Tyler, the Creator. The winner for letter I is In Rainbows by Radiohead. This is another one of those older rock albums that absolutely rocked my world. When I heard All I Need, Faustarp, and Reckoner for the first time, I was absolutely floored by how beautiful they were. This is the most beautiful rock I've ever heard in my life, and I will never forget this album for that. Moving on to letter J. Honorable mentions for this one is going to be The Joshua Tree by U2 and The Jungle Name album by Jungle. The winner for this one is going to be controversial, but it's Jesus is King by Kanye West. I will never understand the hate that this album gets and how low it's placed in Kanye's discography. I get that I'm a Christian guy, but even if I wasn't, these songs are so good. I mean, On God, God Is. Honestly, I put God Is in top 5 Kanye. Sure, it has its lows, it has its very lows, but the highs are so high, and it's a pretty consistent record with a pretty tight track list. Jesus is King, phenomenal record. Moving on to letter K. Honorable mentions for this one are going to be Kid A by Radiohead and Kids See Ghosts by Kanye West and Kid Cudi. Winner for this one is going to be King of the Mysterious South by Denzel Curry. This album is the biggest love letter to Southern hip hop I've ever heard. You have everyone on here. You have Project Pat, you have Major Lazer, you have Kenny Mason. This is a stacked track list. Every beat on here is so South, and it hits so hard. It is banger after banger after banger after banger on this one. G's Up, Set It. I can't even name them all right now. Moving on to letter L. Honorable mentions for this one are going to be Lonerism by Tame Impala and Let's Start Here by The Strokes. And the winner, you guys heard me earlier in the video, Late Registration by Kanye, baby. Other than the fact that this album was basically released on my birthday, this is probably some of the most vulnerable Kanye we've ever gotten. We've got songs like Roses, Addiction, Drive Slow, and absolutely the best Kanye song of all time, We Major. This record has some of the funniest skits as well. Overall, just a great time to sit and listen through. Moving on to letter M. Now for letter M, we have a three-way tie. It's the only time it's ever gonna happen on this list, so enjoy it. Three-way tie is between Mad Villainy, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and Melt My Eyes, See Your Future by Denzel Curry. Mad Villainy is just an absolute love letter to the producers of hip-hop. Madlib is a genius of hip-hop talent. Every track on here, MF Doom just floats. As for Dark Fantasy, Kanye's return to the hip-hop scene was absolutely electric with this one. Along with another one of my favorite songs of all time, Devil in a New Dress, being on this one, Runaway, Dark Fantasy, and Hell of a Life are constantly in my rotation. As for Melt My Eyes, my first introduction to Denzel Curry was through Walkin'. That song is one of the greatest beat switches I've ever heard in my life. And then I went and listened to the album, and Denzel gets so introspective on this one. Throughout his whole career, he was high energy Denzel. Then he takes this album and slows it down and gets real. His pen game is better on this one. His substance is better on this one. When you open this album with that piano floating song, it's just hard to beat. I mean, you've got bangers on here like Ain't No Way, X-Wing, Walking, as well as some more experimental things like that one song with Slow Tie and Saltochi. This album's just hard to beat. Moving on to letter N. Honorable mentions for this one, Negro Swan by Blood Orange, as well as The New Abnormal by The Strokes. The winner for this one is going to be Never Enough by Daniel Caesar. I'd been a Daniel Caesar listener for quite a while, but I'd kind of fallen off of him in the winter of last year. I have to thank my girlfriend for putting me kind of back on track with him when she showed me the track Shot My Baby. This is one of the greatest songs I've ever heard in my life. The bass on this, along with the guitar riffs in the outro, are just levitational. His features on here, like Omar Apollo and Sampha, are so great. Daniel really shows his voice on this one, as well as really shows us that he really can slow it down. Moving on to letter O. Once again, I only found 2 for this one. I really don't know any O albums at all. Honorable mention for this one is going to be The Off Season by J. Cole. The winner for this one is going to be Offline by JPEG Mafia. This album, to me, I hated this on release. It took me kind of until this year to start appreciating it. It really grew on me this winter when I re-listened to the song Thoughts Prayer. That song, that beat, that drop, it's so electric. Peggy's rapping on this one is also very heightened. He's rapping at a really high clip, and that's why this one's going to win letter O. Moving on to letter P. Honorable mention for this one is going to be Parallel Realms by Starfucker and Pray for Paris by Westside Gunn. The winner for this one is going to be Pilgrim's Paradise by Daniel Caesar. Daniel's debut album is honestly my favorite from him. The way he opens this record with Death and Taxes is just a phenomenal start. I mean, he has beautiful vocals on acapella as long as Rowboat, and I wish that he released a vinyl of this one. Moving on to letter Q. I literally had 0 albums for letter Q. I had a few songs liked though from Quiet Storm by Mobb Deep, so I guess that's gonna win this one. Moving on to letter R. Letter R, we've got honorable mentions of Room on Fire by The Strokes and Ramona Park Broke My Heart by Vince Staples. The winner of this one though is gonna be Rodeo by Travis Scott. While some people might look at this record and not see anything super special, this set the tone for the next decade of psychedelic trap. You can listen to some of these songs like Nightcrawler and Antidote, and some could say that it sounds like they were released last week. Travis really set the tone and the bar for psychedelic trap music with this record. Now, moving on to letter S, I really cheated with this one. I could not pick. There are too many. So, every single album I'm about to name wins. Let's go. Seychelles, Sweet Boy by Malcolm Todd, Superhero by Carl Petita, Starboy by The Weeknd, Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder, Slow Rush by Tame Impala, Scrapyard by Quadeca, Scaring the Hose by JPEG Mafia, Samurai by Lupe Fiasco, Sun's T-Raid by Isaiah Rashad, and that's gonna do it for letter S. Moving on to letter T. Honorable mentions, we've got Take Care by Drake and The Sacred Souls by The Sacred Souls. The winner for this one is To Pimp a Butterfly. I mean, when you think of hip-hop, you think of T-Bap. I am not at all the key audience or the key subject matter of this. I mean, look at me. But I can appreciate literate genius when I see it. This united a whole West Coast. This united gangs, this united hoods. This spoke to the violence in gang culture. It was insanely fun to listen to. Songs like Institutionalized, These Walls, all of them. You already know about King Kunta and All Right. That's just a handful of the amazing tracks that are amazingly produced by some of the producers like Pharrell to make an album experience that's once in a lifetime. Moving on to letter U. Honorable mentions are going to be Untitled Unmastered by Kendrick Lamar and Unorthodox Jukebox by Bruno Mars. The winner for this one is going to be Utopia by Travis Scott. I remember when this dropped, I was done with a week of volunteer work for my camp. I just got my phone back and I was driving home on a 3-hour drive on the day that Utopia dropped. That ride home was unforgettable. Travis had a really big hump to overcome with the tragedy that was the Astroworld Festival, and somehow he overcame it. I'm not saying that the Astroworld Festival is forgivable, but he had people talking about this record for months. The intro of Hyena on this album was an unforgettable opening to the record. Moving on to letter V. Honorable mentions for this one are going to be Volcano by Jungle and Veteran by JPEG Mafia. The winner for this one is going to be Views by Drake. I know a lot of people think this album is really bloated, and to an extent it is, but there are just too many unforgettable tracks on this one. You got things like Child's Play, 9, Feel No Ways, and One Dance that are just timeless and are always going to be up there in the charts. Moving on to letter W. Honorable mentions for this one, we've got Wolf by Tyler, the Creator, Water Your Garden by Magic City Hippies, and the winner for W is Wasteland by Brent Faiyaz. You know you've got a good record when 3 of the songs off of it become TikTok hits, and I mean hits. I'm still hearing Jackie Brown and Dead Man Walking on TikTok. And you've got other lesser known bangers like Role Model and Rolling Stone. This album is just pure vibes, and I need Brent to release more of that. Moving on to letter X. The only one I could find for X was Escape by Michael Jackson, so we're just gonna move on. Letter Y. Honorable mentions are gonna be Yellow Submarine by the Beatles and Yeezus by Kanye West. If you're mad that Yeezus got snubbed, the winner for this one is Ye. When I said earlier in the video that Late Registration was one of Kanye's most vulnerable projects, this is Kanye's most vulnerable project. I mean, the album art is literally talking about his mental disorder. While I think he's gone a little too far with it now, this album was perfect. I mean, Ghost Town is one of the most beautiful hip-hop beats I've ever heard in my life, as well as Violent Crimes. This album is timeless. Moving on to letter Z. I can only find one for this as well, so it's a little bit of an anticlimactic ending, but the winner for Z is going to be Zoo by Denzel Curry. We just got banger after banger on this one. You got old school Denzel, so he's high energy. He's giving you bars, and he's giving you them quick. We did it. We did it in under 30 minutes. Look at that. Look at me go. Well, I'm going to bed. I hope you did enjoy this video. Thank you for the love recently. I hope we can reach 400 soon. Would that be crazy? Catch you in the next one. Peace.